You lie back, letting your body soften into the stillness around you. The world grows quiet, and in that quiet, your imagination begins to wander inward into the smallest parts of yourself, not into your thoughts, not even into the beat of your heart, but deeper still. Imagine shrinking, slowly and gently, until your perspective shifts from the familiar scale of rooms and streets into the hidden scale of life. You pass the skin, the blood, the soft tissues. You drift downward until you arrive at a cell, a single unit of life, the kind from which everything else is made. Inside that cell, there is no chaos, no confusion. There is order, quiet, rhythm. And in the very heart of it, tucked within the nucleus, rests a library, not with paper or ink, but with threads of code. You are standing now before DNA, the molecule of inheritance, the script that whispers the story of every living being. This code does not shout. It does not demand your attention. Instead, it waits, patient, enduring, written long before you were born. Each strand is coiled and folded, delicate yet strong, holding billions of letters. 4 letters, only a T, C, and G, repeated in countless combinations. Simple in alphabet, infinite in meaning. You let yourself picture it, a double helix, 2 spiraling ribbons wound together like an endless staircase. The rungs between them are pairs of letters, matched carefully, like lovers who always choose one another. A always pairs with TC, always pairs with G. This pairing is the quiet grammar of life, consistent and unwavering. And yet, what a story those letters tell. Within those spirals are instructions for eyes, for lungs, for thoughts, for memories. Within them are the echoes of ancestors, the resilience of survival, the possibility of tomorrow. You are not merely carrying DNA, you are carrying an ancient library, a script copied and recopied across generations. It is humbling to imagine the DNA inside you is not new. It stretches back through time, through parents, through grandparents, through millions of years of evolution. Every cell in your body carries a link to ancient oceans where the first strands of this code began. You are not separate from that history. You are the newest edition of it. As you float in this thought, you begin to notice how DNA speaks. It does not speak in words as you know them, but in instructions, gentle and precise. A sequence of letters tells a cell how to build a protein, how to fold it, how to fit it into the puzzle of life. One sentence builds an enzyme, another forms collagen, another guides hemoglobin to carry oxygen through your veins. Your body is a symphony of these sentences, read and acted upon every moment. The code whispers constantly, build here, repair there, divide now, rest for a while. Without your awareness, without your command, the whisper continues, sustaining you with tireless patience. You may think of it as a recipe, where each letter is an ingredient, and the cell is the kitchen that follows it. Or you may think of it as music, each letter a note, strung together into melodies that rise and fall, weaving the harmony of your being. And yet, even the most perfect script is fragile. Errors can occur. A letter may be misplaced, skipped, or doubled. Sometimes these changes mean little, like a misspelling that leaves the meaning intact. Other times, they shift the story entirely, altering the music, creating illness or difference. Life's script is powerful, but never flawless. Still, there is beauty in that fragility, for without variation, there would be no diversity, no evolution, no unfolding of life into countless forms. What seems like imperfection is often the doorway to possibility. You are here because, over countless ages, the script has been written and rewritten, shaped by chance and by need. Now you drift further inside this molecular library. The DNA coils into chromosomes, 23 pairs within each cell. Each chromosome holds chapters of the story, some long, some short, all vital. You imagine them like volumes on a shelf, bound tightly, each containing thousands of pages. And in every one of your trillions of cells, this library is repeated faithfully. There is a gentleness in this repetition. The code does not trust a single copy. It preserves itself again and again, ensuring that no cell is left without instruction. Like monks copying manuscripts by candlelight, your body copies DNA whenever cells divide, carrying forward the same letters with astonishing fidelity, and yet always with the possibility of change. As you linger here, you notice the quietness. Despite the immensity of its task, DNA does not boast. It has no awareness of its importance. It simply is. Coiled, silent, patient. A whisper in every cell. A whisper that makes you who you are. It is a reminder that the most powerful forces in life are often unseen. The beating of your heart is loud compared to this. The rush of your breath is loud. But beneath them, beneath every sound and sensation, the code continues, soft and tireless, holding you together. You let this quiet surround you now. You feel yourself almost dissolving into the helix, spiraling gently with it, carried by the letters as though they were waves. You sense the weight of continuity, that you are part of something larger, something stretching back through time, something that will stretch forward beyond you. The whispering code does not end with you. Just as you inherited it, so too might it be passed on, not only in children, but in the very continuity of life. From bacteria to oak trees, to whales to humans, the code flows, adapting, branching, rewriting. You are one expression of it, one voice in its chorus. And so, as you rest within this thought, you feel comfort. You are not separate. You are not fragile in isolation. You are carried by a script older than mountains, older than seas, older even than the stars that gave rise to the atoms in your body. You are, in every sense, written into the universe. Let yourself breathe here, slow and gentle. Each breath an echo of the DNA's patience. Each inhale a reminder that life continues. Each exhale a surrender into trust. The code whispers still. And as you drift closer to rest, you hear within it the faint promise of what is to come. For if there is a script, there are also tools. Tools that life has discovered to shape and to edit its own sentences. Tools like CRISPR, sharp and delicate, ready to cut and to paste. The thought lingers softly. If the code is the whisper, what then are the scissors that trim its lines? You linger in the silence of the code, still hearing the library of DNA humming inside you. Its spirals glisten, endless, patient, writing life into every cell. But slowly, gently, another thought stirs a question. If life is written in letters, can the script ever be touched, ever revised, ever trimmed? The answer arrives not from humans, not from science, not from laboratories filled with glass and steel. It arrives from the smallest creatures of all, bacteria, for even the humblest forms of life carry secrets, secrets that become tools, secrets that change the course of existence. You drift now into the world of bacteria, microscopic and ancient. They float in waters, on skin, in soil. They multiply in silence, unseen, and yet they too are vulnerable. Viruses, tiny invaders, even smaller than them, attempt to slip into their walls, to inject their own code, to hijack the rhythm of their being. For billions of years, bacteria have fought these invaders. They do not have armies or medicines. Instead, they have memory. They keep records of their enemies, small fragments of viral code stored deep within their own DNA. These fragments form patterns clustered, repeated, like tiny scars of past battles. And from those patterns comes the system we call CRISPR. The word itself feels technical, but in truth it is a description of something profoundly natural. CRISPR is a molecular diary, a defense mechanism, a way of remembering threats so that next time the bacteria can cut them apart before they do harm. It is a tool, born not of design, but of survival. And at the heart of this tool is an enzyme, Cas9, a tiny pair of scissors shaped from protein. Imagine them now, not scissors made of metal, not scissors held by hand, but scissors woven of atoms, floating in the fluid of a cell. They do not cut paper or cloth. They cut strands of DNA. You picture the double helix again, its spirals wound like threads of silk. And then you see the scissors moving toward it, guided not by eyes but by memory. They find the precise spot where an intruder's code has entered. With exquisite accuracy, they make a cut. The helix opens. The unwanted letters are removed. The invader's script is silenced. It is a quiet act, unseen, but it is as real and powerful as any battle. Life defends itself with tools sharper than steel, quieter than whispers. As you rest within this thought, you realize that CRISPR is not invention but discovery. Humans did not create these scissors. We found them hidden in the smallest of beings. We listened closely enough to the bacteria and learned that within their ancient struggles lay a gift, a way to touch the code of life itself. You let yourself drift further into the metaphor. These scissors are like starlight, delicate and precise, cutting only where they are guided. The guidance comes from RNA, a close cousin of DNA, a single strand of letters that acts like a map. The RNA tells the scissors where to go, leading them to the exact sequence that needs trimming. Without this guide, the scissors would wander. With it, they are exact, efficient, certain. It is as though you held a compass in your hand that always pointed not north, but toward a single word on a single page in a single book within the vast library of DNA. The scissors follow that compass, unfailing, until they reach the word. And then, with one small motion, they open the book and make their cut. You breathe slowly, letting this image settle. DNA as a book, RNA as the compass, Cas9 as the scissors. Together, they form a system that is as elegant as it is powerful. Together, they show that even the smallest creatures carry within them artistry, precision, resilience. And now, think of what it means that humans have learned to use this system. For millions of years, CRISPR worked quietly within bacteria, unseen, unknown. Only recently have human eyes uncovered it, recognized its potential, and wondered, if bacteria can cut viral code, might we cut the code of life itself? You feel the weight of that thought, not heavy in fear, but heavy in wonder. For the scissors of CRISPR are not confined to defense. In the hands of researchers, they become tools of possibility. They can remove a faulty letter from human DNA. They can insert a missing one. They can rewrite a phrase, adjust a sentence, polish a paragraph in the story of life. And yet, for all their promise, they remain quiet, invisible, molecular. They do not shine with metal or hum with electricity. They float in the fluid of cells, like whispers in the bloodstream, working with a precision so fine you cannot see. It cannot hear it, cannot touch it, and yet your life may one day be shaped by it. You pause here, imagining the scissors not as dangerous, not as violent, but as gentle. Imagine trimming a bonsai tree, shaping each branch with care. Imagine an artist carving marble, removing only what is unnecessary. Imagine a tailor adjusting a garment until it fits perfectly. The scissors of CRISPR act with that same grace, that same quiet devotion to balance, even in sleep. Your mind holds this image, DNA as a long ribbon of silk, and CRISPR's scissors as a careful hand trimming loose threads, repairing the fabric, strengthening the weave. And as you imagine this, you realize something deeper. These scissors are not separate from you. They are part of nature, part of the same flow of life that formed your bones and your breath. To see CRISPR as alien is to forget that everything in science is born of the same universe, the same quiet creativity that shaped stars, oceans, and cells. The scissors made of protein are, in a way, scissors made of stars, because every atom in them, every carbon, every hydrogen, every oxygen, was born in the heart of ancient suns. The light of long-dead stars burns now in these tiny molecular tools, guiding them to rewrite the sentences of life. You close your eyes and see them glowing faintly, starlight condensed into a shape that cuts the spiral of DNA with patience and with care. Not violent, not hurried, just steady, just certain. And so, as you drift deeper into this thought, you sense the larger story beginning to unfold. First, the code itself. Now the scissors that can shape it. What might this mean for healing, for change, for the future? You let the question linger, unresolved, because the scissors are only the beginning. They are tools, yes, but what they cut, and why they cut, and how those cuts ripple outward, those are the stories still waiting to be told. You are still resting with the image of the scissors, delicate and starborn, drifting through the spirals of DNA. Their sharpness is not frightening, for it is guided with care. They cut only what is needed, leaving balance in their wake. Yet the question that hangs in the quiet air is this: how do they know where to cut? The answer lies in memory, not your memory, not the recollections of faces or places, but the memory of cells themselves. Close your eyes and imagine a fortress, small yet strong, with walls unseen to the eye. This is a single bacterial cell, living in water, in soil, in the folds of life. Its walls keep out harm, yet the world presses close with threats. Viruses approach, eager to invade, to slip past defenses, to overwrite the cell's own instructions with their selfish codes. In the beginning, perhaps the cell falls. The virus succeeds, but life, even in its smallest forms, remembers. From defeat, it learns. From intrusion, it keeps a trace. The virus leaves behind not only harm, but also a clue, a fragment of its own DNA. The cell seizes it, tucks it away, and holds it in a safe place. That place is CRISPR. You imagine now a shelf of journals, each one small, each one containing just a few lines. Together, they form a library, quiet and waiting. Each journal entry is a piece of viral code, stored as though pinned between the pages of memory. When the same virus comes again, the cell is ready. It flips through its shelves, finds the matching entry, and pulls it out like a note. Guided by this note, the molecular scissors, Cas9, know exactly where to cut. Memory is not only in the mind, it is also in the molecule. You let yourself drift through this bacterial library. The shelves are long, stretching farther than you imagined, each one holding small fragments of ancient battles. The silence is immense, but it is not empty. It hums with resilience, with survival. Every entry is a story of danger overcome, of an invader remembered. This library is not grand in appearance. There are no golden bindings, no vaulted ceilings. It is quiet, practical, efficient. And yet, it is sacred, for it represents the ability to endure. Without it, bacteria would fall again and again to the same attackers. With it, they stand, learn, and resist. You pause here, letting the image deepen. Memory, you realize, is not just a gift to minds that dream. It is woven into the very fabric of life. Even the smallest beings hold remembrance, not through thought, but through code. The universe seems to whisper, "To survive, you must remember." Now picture how this memory works. The viral fragment stored in CRISPR is transcribed into RNA, a guide, a compass. That compass leads the scissors directly to the invader's DNA, pointing with unwavering precision. The scissors cut, the invader falls silent, and the cell remains whole. It is a system both simple and profound. Store a record. Recall the record. Act with precision. The rhythm is steady, almost meditative in its flow. You let yourself rest in this rhythm. Memory, guidance, cut, silence. Memory, guidance, cut, silence. The pattern repeats like breathing, and as you breathe with it, you notice something comforting. The smallest lives defend themselves with memory, and in doing so, they mirror your own body, your own mind. Just as you remember danger to avoid it, so too does a cell. Just as you keep journals, stories, reminders, so too does life in its simplest forms. You drift now into the thought of your own body. Your immune system remembers. When you encounter a virus once, your body keeps fragments of it, antibodies, so that the next time it comes, you are ready. CRISPR is not unlike this, a molecular immune system, specific and persistent. You carry in yourself echoes of the same principle. Survival through memory. The library of defenses expands with time. Each new invasion writes a new entry. Each entry strengthens the whole. The cell, humble and unseen, grows wiser with every battle. And you, too, carry libraries within you, built of experiences, lessons, fragments of the past that help you navigate the present. As you rest in this reflection, you begin to sense the scale of what it means. This is not merely about bacteria. It is about life's universal tendency to preserve knowledge, to keep traces, to build archives. From the molecules of cells to the languages of humans, memory is the thread that carries survival forward. Think of libraries you have walked through in your own life. The smell of paper, the hush of corridors, the weight of history surrounding you. The bacterial library of CRISPR is invisible, but it holds the same essence, the careful storage of stories that must not be forgotten in this way. Bacteria are like ancient scribes, their CRISPR systems etching fragments into the pages of their DNA. They do not know that in doing so, they also write for you, for humanity, for the future. For without those entries, without those fragments, you would never have learned of CRISPR, never discovered its scissors, never held in your hands the possibility of editing life's code. The quietest libraries often hold the most powerful truths. you let yourself wander deeper, imagining opening one of these molecular journals. Inside, you find not words, but sequences, letters written in the alphabet of DNA. They do not read like your books. They do not tell stories of kings or oceans. Yet within them is all the story that matters. Who threatened, how they were defeated, and how to recognize them again. It is a strange comfort to know that even the smallest beings live with memory, that even in the dark, invisible places of life, journals are being written. It is as though all of existence is engaged in writing and reading, preserving and recalling. An endless cycle of storytelling at every scale as your breath slows. You begin to sense how CRISPR is more than scissors. It is more than defense. It is remembrance itself. It is the molecular embodiment of history, fragments of the past etched into the present, shaping the future. Perhaps you think that is true of you as well. You are not only your present breath, you are the echoes of your past, the fragments of memory you carry, the journals of your life etched into your mind and body. You are, in every sense, a library of defenses too. The thought rests gently, not as a burden, but as a reassurance. You are not fragile. You are layered. You are remembered. You are written into continuity. And as you linger in this stillness, you feel the next question rising. If life has a library of memories, if cells defend themselves by recalling the past, then what happens when humans learn to borrow this system? What happens when we, too, begin to edit and to write, not only to remember, but to revise? The scissors wait, and the library whispers. The shelves are endless, filled with the echoes of battles and the promise of what may yet be. You stand at the threshold, aware that the story is far from over. You linger in the hushed corridors of the bacterial library. Its shelves stretch endlessly, filled with fragments of memory, fragments of battle. Each line etched into CRISPR is a reminder that survival depends on remembering. And yet, as you stand among those shelves, you sense another shift. A soft turning of the page, as if the library is offering you not only memory, but possibility. For memory, after all, is not the end. A book stored is useful, but a book revised can change the story entirely. You breathe slowly into this thought. DNA, that double helix you traced earlier, is not only a record of what has been, it is also a manuscript of what could be. The letters are ancient, but they are not sacred beyond touch. They can be altered. They can be rewritten, and this is where CRISPR begins to transform. No longer just scissors for defense, it becomes a pen, a tool of editing. You imagine holding it now, delicate in your hands, glowing faintly like a quill of starlight. With it, you are no longer only a reader of life's book. You become a scribe. Picture the DNA again, a ribbon of letters spiraling into the dark. Somewhere along that ribbon lies a word misspelled, a phrase broken, a sentence that does not serve. CRISPRs, scissors, make their cut, and into the gap slips a new word, a repaired phrase, a sentence reshaped. The book of life continues, but with its meaning transformed. It feels at once miraculous and unsettling, for to rewrite is to hold power, and power always carries weight. You pause here, letting your breath settle. This is not a rush, not a race. It is a meditation, a slow unfolding of what it means to alter the most intimate script of all. You let your mind picture the possibilities. A child born with a broken gene, a letter missing in the story of blood. CRISPR enters, cuts, replaces, heals. The blood flows whole again. A plant vulnerable to drought, its script unprepared for changing skies. CRISPR writes in resilience, granting roots that dig deeper, leaves that conserve water. The plant survives, and with it, the harvest that feeds. An animal carrying disease, its DNA holding the key to spread. CRISPR revises the code, silencing the passage, protecting not only the animal but also the lives it touches. These are not dreams of fiction. They are whispers of real possibility. The script is not untouchable. The pen rests, waiting in human hands. And yet, the stillness deepens. With each possibility comes a question. If you can rewrite, what do you choose to change? If you can erase, what do you choose to forget? If you can create, what do you choose to imagine? It is not only the power of healing, but the weight of choice. To alter the script is to decide which words belong and which do not. It is to step into authorship of life itself. You let this thought flow gently, not as fear, but as reflection. For even as you imagine CRISPR repairing broken lines, you feel the balance. Too much editing, and the story may lose its rhythm. Too little, and suffering may continue. The scissors and the pen must be guided with care, with humility. Perhaps it helps to think of gardening. A gardener trims, prunes, shapes. But the gardener also respects the plant, its nature, its growth. CRISPR is a gardener's tool, powerful, delicate, but always in need of wisdom. Or, perhaps, it is music. A composer rewrites a phrase, adjusts a note, shifts a harmony. The melody becomes stronger, more whole. But change too much, and the music is lost. CRISPR is that composer's hand, writing carefully, listening always to the resonance of life. You rest in these metaphors, letting them soften the weight. Editing does not mean control without limit. It means relationship. It means dialogue between what is and what could be. Now you return again to the vision of DNA. Imagine it stretched before you, a ribbon of light spiraling into the dark. You hold the quill of CRISPR glowing faintly in your grasp. You trace the letters slowly, carefully, pausing at each phrase. You feel the weight of history in them, the memory of ancestors, the endurance of survival. You do not rush to edit. You listen first. You wait for the places that whisper, the lines that long for repair. Only then do you move, trimming, writing, healing. There is a patience to it, a stillness, like breathing, like prayer, and in that patience, you recognize that rewriting is not about erasing the past. The past remains honored in memory, held in the shelves of the library. Rewriting is about creating continuity, carrying the story forward in a way that is more whole, more harmonious. You breathe deeper now, imagining yourself as both reader and writer. You feel the spiral of DNA beneath your fingertips, alive with potential. You are part of this manuscript, and also a steward of it. The pen rests with you, but so too does the responsibility to use it wisely, and so, as you drift into this thought, you let yourself explore the tension between wonder and caution. For wonder is what drives discovery, and caution is what preserves its balance. CRISPR offers the chance to heal, to transform, to write futures that were once unimaginable. But it also asks of you humility, patience, and care. This balance is where you rest now, between scissors and pen, between memory and possibility, between what is and what might be. the script of life continues, its letters glowing faintly in the silence. And you, breathing gently, are part of the story that unfolds. You remain in the quiet of the library, the manuscript of life open before you. The words glimmer softly, spiraling like threads of light. You have felt the weight of holding a pen, of knowing that the script may be revised. And now, gently, your mind turns to the places in the text that are not whole. The broken lines. Every manuscript, no matter how ancient or revered, carries errors. Sometimes a letter is missing, sometimes two words exchange places, sometimes an entire phrase is jumbled. In the story of life, these errors become illnesses. Conditions written into the body at birth or unfolding slowly with time. You let yourself breathe into this truth. The book of DNA, though wondrous, is not perfect. Imagine, now, a child born with a flaw in the script. The gene that should guide blood to carry oxygen is misspelled. The cells struggle. The body tires. Life becomes heavier than it should. For centuries, such broken lines were beyond repair. The story continued with its errors, and suffering was carried forward. But here, with CRISPR, something changes. The quill of stars hovers over the page. It does not erase the child, nor deny the body's history. It simply moves to the flawed phrase and writes with care. The missing letter is restored. The line regains its rhythm, and the body, once burdened, begins to breathe freely again. You feel the tenderness of this act. Healing is not conquest. It is repair. It is the gentle recognition that stories matter, that every line deserves clarity. Now you drift deeper into this thought, wandering through examples of broken lines. Some genes falter in the muscles, leaving them weak, unable to carry weight. The story of walking becomes the story of stumbling. But CRISPR whispers possibility, to restore the muscle strength, to mend the word that was lost. Other genes falter in the eyes, leaving darkness where there should be sight. The story of color, of faces, of light itself is muted. But CRISPR whispers possibility, to correct the phrase, to let vision unfold again like dawn. Still others falter in the immune system, leaving bodies vulnerable, unprotected. The story of defense, of resilience, is incomplete. But CRISPR whispers possibility, to repair the shield, to give the body back its quiet strength. These are not fantasies. They are beginnings already unfolding in quiet laboratories, where scientists trace the spirals of DNA with care. The quill of stars does not rush. It moves slowly, testing, learning, ensuring that the repair is true. And though much remains unknown, the direction is clear. The book of life need not remain broken. You breathe here, steady and calm. Healing, you realize, is not only about mending illness. It is also about restoring harmony, balance, rhythm. Just as music with a missing note feels incomplete, so too does a body with a broken line. To heal is to return the melody to wholeness. And yet, as with all editing, there is weight. To change a line is to accept responsibility for what follows. The child healed may live freely, yes, but what are the ripples of that healing? How do they move outward into family, into society, into the flow of time? Healing is not just science. It is story, and every story touches others. You linger here, not in worry but in awareness. Healing is sacred. It is not simply the correction of error, but the honoring of life's potential. CRISPR is not a hammer striking flaws. It is a needle mending fabric, a brush restoring a faded painting, a musician tuning strings until harmony returns. Picture now the broken lines as threads in a tapestry. Some are frayed, some tangled, some snapped. You lean close with CRISPR in hand, weaving carefully, knotting gently, ensuring that the pattern remains true. Slowly, the tapestry regains its beauty, not by ignoring its flaws, but by mending them with devotion. You rest in this image, the soft rhythm of weaving, the slow return of wholeness, and then another thought rises. Healing is not only for the body. The metaphor extends outward. For just as DNA carries broken lines, so to do human histories, human societies. There are sentences in our collective story that falter, injustices, inequalities, wounds that echo across generations. CRISPR cannot mend these, but perhaps the lesson of it can. To listen for brokenness, to repair with care, to restore rhythm without erasing history. These are ways of healing too. You feel a calm hope in this reflection, that science and spirit, molecules and metaphors can walk together, that the act of repairing DNA mirrors the act of mending lives, of tending to what has been harmed. And so you breathe deeper, sinking into the comfort of possibility. Healing is never absolute. It is never perfect, but it is always worth attempting. You imagine again the child with the broken gene, now running, now breathing, now laughing. The story shifts not into perfection, but into freedom. This is what it means to heal, not to erase, but to restore. The manuscript of life continues, glowing softly in the dark. The broken lines are not forgotten. They are tended to, woven back into the flow of being. And you, resting quietly, are part of this healing too. Not only through science, but through the gentleness you carry, the compassion you hold. For healing is more than scissors, more than quills, more than code. Healing is presence. Healing is care. Healing is the choice to see brokenness not as failure, but as opportunity for love. You linger in this stillness, breathing slowly, imagining each inhale as a restoration, each exhale as a letting go of burden. You are healed in rhythm, in breath, in quiet, and as the thought settles, a new whisper begins to stir. If broken lines can be mended, what about lines that were never written at all? What about possibilities not yet imagined, stories not yet told? Healing repairs what is, but editing can also create what has never been. The library waits. The quill rests in your hand, and the question deepens. What new sentences might humanity choose to inscribe into the manuscript of life? You rest for a moment in the quiet glow of the library, the broken lines gently mended, the story restored. The air feels lighter, as though balance has returned. But even in this calm, you sense another door opening. Healing within the body is profound, but the body is not the only place where the script matters. Beyond the walls of self, beyond even the human story, lies another manuscript, broader, older, more entangled, the story of Earth itself. You step through the doorway, leaving behind the enclosed hush of the library. Ahead stretches a garden, vast and alive. Plants sway in the soft wind, their leaves shimmering with dew. Bees hum, carrying pollen from one blossom to the next. Roots dig deep into soil rich with memory. The garden is not metaphor alone. It is Earth's true manuscript, a living record of survival written across fields, forests, and seas. You walk slowly, noticing details, the golden grain in the distance, the orchard heavy with fruit, the green shoots pressing upward toward the sun. Each carries a script of its own, sentences of DNA crafted by evolution across millennia. Yet even here, perfection is not guaranteed. Crops falter in drought, forests strain under heat, oceans rise, shifting the balance of life. The garden is beautiful, but its walls tremble under change, and so CRISPR extends its hand. The tool that once healed within the body now reaches outward, offering possibility for the planet itself. Imagine a stalk of rice, thirsty in dry soil. Its script was written for steady rains, but the climate no longer keeps its promise. CRISPR steps in, adjusting the letters. The rice grows stronger roots, conserving water, surviving where once it would wither. The harvest endures. Imagine a banana plant, vulnerable to disease. A single infection sweeps across plantations, threatening extinction of the fruit that feeds millions. CRISPR rewrites the line, granting resistance, preserving the crop. The story of nourishment continues. Imagine trees, guardians of air, straining in rising heat. Their leaves burn, their growth slows. CRISPR whispers resilience into their DNA, allowing forests to hold steady, to continue weaving oxygen into the sky. These are not fantasies of far-off science fiction. They are whispers of what is already beginning. Cautious, tentative, unfolding in quiet laboratories and experimental fields. The garden may yet be saved, not through conquest, but through revision of its text. You breathe slowly into this thought, aware of both wonder and weight. For to alter the food we eat, the forests we walk, the balance of ecosystems, this is power, vast and humbling. Healing the body felt intimate. Healing the planet feels immense. The metaphor shifts. If DNA in the body is a manuscript, then Earth's ecosystems are a library beyond measure. Millions of species, each with their own book, each interwoven into the shelves of time. To edit one is to ripple across many. The balance is fragile, like a spider's web in dew. Touch a single thread, and vibrations echo outward. You pause here, letting the image deepen. A field of wheat is not just wheat. It is soil and microbes, water and pollinators, air and climate. To revise the wheat is to affect the hive of bees, the cycle of rain, the hunger of families. No word in Earth's manuscript stands alone, and so CRISPR's role beyond the garden walls must be cautious, deliberate, listening. The quill of stars cannot rush here. It must pause, feel the weight of each sentence, consider the echo of each edit. Perhaps it is helpful to think of Earth as a choir. Each species sings its own line, its melody shaped by time. Together they form a harmony, imperfect, ever-shifting, but whole. To change one voice is to alter the chorus. Sometimes this strengthens the music, sometimes it disturbs the rhythm. CRISPR, then, becomes a conductor's gesture, subtle, careful, always listening for balance. You rest in this metaphor, imagining the choir of Earth singing softly in the twilight. Birds trill, whales hum, insects buzz in rhythm. Humanity's hand hovers, deciding whether to shift a note, to strengthen a phrase, to guide the song through coming storms. And yet, as before, the question returns. What is wise to change, and what must be left untouched? For in every garden there are wild corners, places where life thrives without design, without interference. To edit too much is to risk silencing mystery. To edit to little May leave the story vulnerable to collapse. You breathe again, deeply, holding both truths. CRISPR offers potential to heal the garden, but it also challenges humans to humility, to restraint. The quill can write new words, but sometimes the most important act is to let old words remain. You wander further into the garden. Beyond the fields of crops, you find the forest edge. Shadows stretch, and the air grows cooler. Here live species less familiar, less tended. Wildflowers scatter, insects dart, fungi weave unseen threads below the soil. Each carries its own script, each part of a larger pattern. Here too, CRISPR whispers possibilities. To restore endangered species, perhaps by strengthening their resilience. To heal coral reefs by rewriting the genes of polyps, granting them endurance against rising seas. To protect bees by adjusting their defenses against parasites. These are tender hopes, still uncertain, still fragile, but they shimmer like fireflies in the dusk, offering light where darkness gathers. The garden widens further, and you find yourself standing at the edge of the ocean. Waves roll in, slow and steady. Beneath the surface, vast libraries of DNA stretch in every direction. Fish and plankton, kelp and coral, whales and microbes. The ocean holds most of Earth's genetic story, its sentences still unread. Here, too, the quill of CRISPR could move, perhaps to aid fish struggling against warmer waters, or to restore reefs bleaching under sunlit stress. The ocean waits, both vulnerable and infinite. You pause, letting the rhythm of the waves echo in your breathing. Inhale, exhale, tide in, tide out. The ocean reminds you that editing the script is not conquest but dialogue. Humans are not authors above the sea, but participants within it. The quill is a responsibility, not a crown. As night settles across the garden and ocean, stars emerge above. You look upward, and the thought widens further. Earth is not the only manuscript. The universe itself is a vast library, its shelves stretching into silence. To alter life here is to ripple into the cosmos, perhaps shaping how humanity walks among the stars. CRISPR is not only a tool of science, it is part of the story of becoming. You breathe deeply, letting the vastness soften you rather than overwhelm. You are small in this library, but also connected. Each breath ties you to forests, to oceans, to stars. The script of life does not end at your skin. It flows outward, beyond the garden walls, into everything. And here, resting in this realization, a new question arises. If CRISPR can heal bodies, and if it can help sustain the planet, what lies beyond? What does it mean not only to edit life as it is, but to imagine life as it could be? Not just to repair or preserve, but to create new chapters, unwritten until now. The horizon darkens, vast and unbounded. The empty pages of the manuscript stretch forward. You feel the weight and wonder of the pen resting in your hand. The garden fades behind you, its plants glowing softly in twilight, its oceans breathing under starlight. You walk now into a quieter place, a clearing where the air feels heavy with thought. The manuscript of life lies before you still, the spiral of DNA unfurling in light. Yet something has changed. The question is no longer what can be written, but what should be. You pause, breathing deeply. The air feels slower, almost weightier, as though each inhalation asks you to consider carefully. To edit life is not simply an act of science. It is an act of choice, and choices carry responsibility. You recall the healing of broken lines, The child whose blood now flows freely, the muscle restored, the vision renewed. You recall the garden crops surviving drought, coral reefs strengthened against heat. These are stories of possibility, stories of hope. But every story is also a question. Should the pen be lifted here, or should it rest? This is the threshold of ethics, the space where possibility meets wisdom. You breathe into this threshold, slow and steady. The word ethics itself feels solid, grounding. It is not about numbers or experiments alone. It is about values, about meaning, about the future we wish to create. Imagine a candle in the dark. CRISPR is the flame, small but powerful. It can bring light, warmth, guidance, but it can also burn, scorch, consume. How you hold it matters more than its fire. You let this image soften within you. Editing fate is not about erasing destiny, but about walking gently with it, knowing that every step carries consequence. Consider again the child born with a broken gene. To heal is a gift, a restoration. But what of the child who carries not illness, but difference? What if the script is not broken, but simply varied? To edit such lines is not healing, but choosing which variations of humanity to honor, which to erase. And here the question deepens. Who decides? You linger with this. Diversity is not error. It is the essence of evolution, the rhythm of survival. Yet, with a quill in hand, the temptation may arise to smooth away differences, to prefer sameness over variation. In the quiet, you feel the weight of this temptation. To choose uniformity is to silence possibility. To embrace diversity is to honor the wildness of life. The question does not end here. Imagine a family with the means to edit their child's future, taller, stronger, sharper in mind. Is this healing, or is it design? Is it care, or is it control? The quill of CRISPR does not know the difference. It follows the hand that guides it. And so the true responsibility lies not in the tool, but in the choices of those who wield it. You pause, letting the breath slow, the silence deepen. These are not simple questions. They are not meant to be answered quickly. They are meant to be lived, considered, held with care. Ethics stretches beyond the individual. Imagine crops revised for resilience. A gift, yes, but also a shift. Who decides which seeds are planted? Who controls the harvest? Who shares in the abundance? A tool that could feed many may also enrich few. The ethics of CRISPR is not only about science. It is about justice, about fairness, about the ways power moves through society. You let this thought unfold like ripples across a pond. Each edit of DNA creates waves, some visible, some hidden. A plant saved from disease may affect farmers, markets, families, economies. A human gene altered may touch descendants not yet born. The ripples extend beyond sight. Ethics is the listening for those ripples before the stone is thrown. Perhaps it helps to think of editing fate as writing poetry. A poet chooses words with care, knowing each syllable shapes the rhythm of the whole. But unlike a private poem, the verses written here belong to all. To write carelessly is to impose your rhythm on others. To write humbly is to consider the chorus of voices yet unheard. You rest in this metaphor, feeling its softness. Poetry cannot be rushed. Neither can ethics. Both require attention, patience, humility. And still, you know, the temptation of power lingers. Humanity has often reached for control, for mastery, for perfection. But perfection is not the aim of life. Life thrives in imperfection, in surprise, in the unexpected. To edit too much is to risk silencing the very spark that makes existence vibrant. You breathe into this awareness. Ethics, then, is the practice of restraint as much as action. It is the wisdom to know when to write and when to wait, when to mend and when to let be. Imagine again the manuscript of life. Its pages glow softly, filled with stories ancient and ongoing. You hold the quill of CRISPR in your hand. The temptation is strong to write boldly, to leave your mark. But the wiser act may be to pause, to listen, to recognize that the story is not yours alone. It belongs to the generations before you and to the generations yet to come. Here, the breath slows further. Ethics is not urgency. It is patience, the willingness to sit in silence, to let the questions deepen without rushing toward answers. You reflect now on the guiding principles that echo through human history: respect, justice, compassion. These are not scientific terms, yet they are the true foundation of science. Without them, discovery becomes conquest. With them, discovery becomes care.ethics, then is the bridge between wonder and wisdom. It asks not only what is possible, but what is right, what is kind, what is just. You rest in this bridge, feeling its strength beneath your feet. The night around you is still, stars shimmering softly above. The questions remain unresolved, but you feel comfort in holding them gently. And as you linger, a new thought stirs. Ethics is not the end of the journey. It is a compass pointing forward. For if humanity can edit the script of life, and if it can hold that quill with humility and wisdom, then perhaps the story need not remain bound by what has been. Perhaps new chapters still unwritten, still unknown, wait just beyond the horizon. The silence of ethics still lingers around you, like a calm after deep reflection. You feel its weight and its wisdom, steadying your breath, softening your steps. Yet even within that stillness, another current begins to stir, a gentle pull forward, toward the edge of possibility. You have seen broken lines healed. You have walked beyond the garden walls. You have sat with questions of restraint. And now, the manuscript opens again, not for mending, not for preserving, but for something else. Writing new stories. You pause here, letting the words bloom slowly. They do not rush. They unfold like dawn, each phrase casting a soft glow. Writing new stories is not about conquering the old ones. It is about noticing the spaces between them, the margins left blank, the possibilities not yet spoken. The DNA spirals before you, luminous and alive. You notice that not all of its script is written with precision. Much of it is open, flexible, filled with potential. Some stretches of DNA do not code for proteins at all. They hum quietly in the background, their role mysterious, their presence spacious. These gaps, these unknowns, feel like the white space of a page, an invitation for imagination. CRISPR, the quill of stars, lingers above this space. It no longer hovers over a broken word or faltering phrase. Instead, it hovers over emptiness, waiting to inscribe something new. You breathe into the wonder of this. Writing new stories is not the same as healing. Healing is about returning balance. Creation is about unfolding what has never been. It is possibility in its purest form. You wander into this thought with curiosity. What could be written? Scientists have already begun to explore. Crops enriched with nutrients beyond what evolution alone provided. microbes designed to consume waste, transforming pollution into harmless fragments, cells engineered to produce medicines within the body, as though healing could arise from within, always present, always active. These are small beginnings, yet they whisper of a larger horizon. You pause to imagine organisms that do not yet exist, bacteria that weave fabrics, algae that glow gently to light a room, trees that bear not one fruit but many. These are dreams, sketches in the margins of science, but they remind you of something deeper. Life is not fixed. It is fluid. Evolution has always written new stories. CRISPR simply places a pen in human hands, allowing that creativity to join the ancient process. And yet you know this is no act of reckless invention. Writing new stories requires humility as much as imagination. For every line added carries weight. Every new word ripples outward into ecosystems, into generations. You imagine a poet at work, pen in hand, staring at the empty page. The poet does not write endlessly, but waits, listens, allows silence to speak. Creation is not urgency, it is patience, the willingness to let words arrive in their own rhythm. In the same way, writing new biological stories must be guided not by haste, but by listening. Listening to the rhythms of nature, to the voices of communities, to the echoes of future generations. You let your breath match this rhythm. Inhale as possibility. Exhale as patience. Now imagine a future where cells are designed to heal within. A child born with a vulnerability may carry not only a corrected gene, but an entire system of inner guardians, proteins that sense imbalance and restore it before illness begins. The body becomes a self-writing manuscript, able to repair itself with grace. Or imagine forests that not only endure climate shifts, but actively reshape air, pulling more carbon into their trunks, releasing balance back into the sky. These forests become not just survivors, but authors of renewal. Or oceans where coral reefs glow with resilience, their polyps carrying scripts that resist heat and acid, their colors returning even as waters change. The ocean's choir regains its song dot. These are not fictions, they are directions, ideas, already being traced cautiously in laboratories and research journals. You pause again, feeling both awe and responsibility. Writing new stories is not about asking, what can we create? But, what should we create? The blank page is vast, but not every word belongs. Some stories honor life, others diminish it. The art is to discern which is which. Perhaps the metaphor can shift once more. Imagine a garden of possibility. Each seed is a new story, planted in soil rich with potential. Some seeds grow into trees of nourishment, offering shade, fruit, shelter. Others may tangle, spread too quickly, disrupt balance. The gardener must choose with care, tending what nurtures, pruning what overwhelms. CRISPR is the gardener's hand, but it is also the soil, the seed, the water. For each new story written is not separate from the whole. It joins the interconnected web of earth. To write is not to dominate, but to participate in the dance of creation. You breathe into this garden, feeling the vastness of possibility and the need for humility. The quill of stars remains in your hand, but you do not rush. You walk slowly, noticing each potential story, each shimmering seed, and then you realize something gentle but profound. Writing new stories is not just for scientists in distant labs. It is also for you in the way you live, in the choices you make. Every act of kindness, every step toward justice, Every breath of care is a new story too, not written in DNA, but in memory, in culture, in the collective script of humanity. You rest in this recognition. Creation is everywhere. You are already part of it. The manuscript glows softly still. The spiral hums, waiting. You hold the quill lightly, knowing the future is not yet inscribed. Some stories will heal, some will preserve, some will create anew. All will ripple outward into the vastness, and as you breathe, you feel another horizon forming. If humans can write new stories in life's script, what does this mean for identity, for belonging, for the essence of what it means to be alive? Will new forms of life join the circle? Will humanity itself be rewritten? The questions rise like stars, endless, shimmering. You do not need to answer them tonight. It is enough to rest in their glow, to let them accompany your breath as you drift toward sleep. The night feels heavier now, not with burden, but with depth. You have walked through healing, through gardens, through ethics, and through the whisper of futures unwritten. The manuscript of DNA still glows at your side, spiraling like a lantern in the dark. The quill of stars rests in your hand, patient, waiting. Yet the question before you now is not about crops or oceans or even medicine. It is about something closer, more intimate. It is about you. The age of editing does not only touch plants, microbes, or coral. It touches humanity itself. It reaches inward, toward the very core of identity. And so you find yourself wondering, who are we when the lines of our being may be rewritten? You breathe into this question. Inhale, long and steady. Exhale, soft and slow. Let the inquiry settle into you like mist. Identity for so long has been a weaving of inheritance and experience. You carry the stories written in your DNA, the shape of your face, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the predispositions hidden within your cells. You also carry the stories written in memory, your family, your culture, the choices and chances of your days. Together, they form the tapestry of self. But what happens when inheritance itself can be edited? When the script of DNA is no longer fixed, but fluid, adjustable, like clay in the hands of sculptors? You let the thought ripple outward. Imagine a future child whose genes were chosen, not only freed from illness, but shaped for traits. Taller, perhaps, stronger, more resistant to disease. A child not only born of chance, but of design. Is this still inheritance? Or is it authorship? You pause here, feeling the complexity. Identity has always been both given and made. You inherit your eyes, your skin, your voice. But you also shape your identity through experience, through choice, through the ways you move through the world. CRISPR blurs this boundary. It allows identity to be shaped before experience, to be sculpted before life begins. You breathe deeper, sensing both awe and unease. There is a story told in many cultures of mirrors that show not the present self, but the possible self. To look into them is to see versions of who you could be. CRISPR is such a mirror, not of reflection, but of potential. It does not only ask, who are you? It asks, who could you be if the script were different? You let this question linger, shimmering in the stillness. Identity in the age of editing becomes layered. There is the self that is given by birth, the self that is chosen by experience, and now, perhaps, the self that is written by design. 3 layers intertwining like braids of light. But is identity truly so malleable? You wonder, Or is there something deeper, something beyond DNA that remains untouched? You close your eyes for a moment, listening inward. Beneath the surface of genes, beneath the architecture of body, there is still consciousness, the breath of awareness, the spark of being. This spark does not belong to any sequence of nucleotides. It is not coded, not edited, not revised. It simply is. Perhaps this is the root of identity. Not the script, but the reader of the script. Not the words, but the awareness that speaks them. You rest in this possibility, allowing a soft comfort to emerge. CRISPR may alter bodies, even predispositions, but the essence of being, the awareness that lives through it, remains untouched. A flame beyond editing. And yet, identity is not only personal, it is collective. It stretches across families, communities, cultures. It is the way you see yourself and the way others see you. CRISPR, then, does not only touch the self, it touches the web of belonging. Imagine a society where some can afford editing and others cannot, where some children are born enhanced, while others remain as chance and ancestry allow. Identity in such a world becomes stratified, not only by wealth or opportunity, but by biology itself. The question deepens. Are we creating not just new individuals, but new divisions? You walk slowly through this thought, as though along a quiet shoreline. Identity is never solitary. It reflects back from every gaze, every voice, every embrace. To edit one is, in some sense, to edit all, for the web of identity is shared. And so the challenge becomes not only personal, but ethical, societal. How do we honor individuality while also honoring equality? How do we celebrate difference without creating hierarchy? The stars above shimmer faintly, as though listening. You breathe into their quiet, letting the questions echo. There is another layer still. Identity in the age of editing may expand beyond humanity itself. For if new forms of life are created, organisms with traits never before seen, beings designed to thrive in climates yet to come, do they too belong in the circle of identity? Does belonging stretch to include them? You imagine a future forest, glowing faintly at night, designed to absorb more carbon, to heal the air. Imagine a river where engineered fish swim, thriving where wild ones faltered. Imagine even companions, animals whose DNA carries not only survival traits, but deeper bonds with humans. Identity may no longer be strictly human. It may become a shared story across species, across creations. This thought softens into wonder. Perhaps identity, far from narrowing, is expanding. Perhaps the age of editing calls humanity to see self not as isolated, but as part of a greater community of life, both ancient and new. You breathe gently here, resting in the vastness of it, and yet, identity is not only what is possible in the future, it is also what is remembered from the past. Each gene carries echoes of ancestors, of migrations, of survival across centuries. To edit is, in some ways, to touch this lineage. To rewrite is to alter not just the present, but the chain of memory itself. You imagine your ancestors, their stories etched in DNA, passed down like whispers through time. To carry them is to belong to a lineage. To alter them is to weave new threads into the tapestry. Identity, then, is both honoring the past and opening to the future. You pause again, letting this balance settle into your breath. Inhale, inheritance. Exhale, possibility. Both belong, both are true, And perhaps that is the essence of identity in the age of editing. Not fixed, not singular, but layered, dynamic, unfolding. A story always being written by genes, by experience, by choice, by imagination. You rest in this awareness, feeling both peace and curiosity. The manuscript still glows, its spiral turning slowly in the quiet air. The quill of stars remains in your hand, but you do not write. You simply breathe, knowing the story of identity is too vast to capture in a single stroke. It is meant to be lived, not finished. The night deepens around you. The stars expand above, shimmering like possibilities. And within you, the flame of awareness glows steady, unedited, eternal. The manuscript of life rests quietly beside you, its spiral glowing faintly like a lantern in the dark. For many nights you have traced its patterns, walked among its stories, breathed with its rhythms. You have followed its words through healing, through the gardens of nature, through the ethics of choice, through the mirror of identity. Now you lift your gaze, and what lies before you is larger than a single page, larger than a single life. What lies before you is the horizon, wide and shimmering, stretching into the distance of time itself. You stand at the threshold of humanity's unfolding future. Breathe in slowly, breathe out gently. This horizon is vast, and you are part of it. Humanity has always been a storyteller. Long before letters pressed into parchment, long before screens flickered with light, the first humans gathered round fire, telling stories in voices carried by smoke and night wind. These stories wove identity, bound communities, carried hope. And now, with the power to edit genes, humanity's storytelling has shifted. We no longer only tell stories about life. We tell them within life itself. CRISPR is a quill not of ink but of inheritance, not of paper but of flesh and lineage. And so the horizon that rises before us is not only technological but narrative. It is the question, what story will we tell with ourselves as characters? You pause in the silence. Will it be a story of healing, where pain recedes and resilience blooms? Will it be a story of ambition, where we chase perfection in form and mind? Will it be a story of justice, where compassion guides every choice? Will it be a story of wonder, where we co-create with nature itself? Perhaps it will be all of these, braided together like strands of light. The horizon stretches with many paths, each shimmering differently. Some glow with promise, some ripple with shadow. One path is of healing, where CRISPR mends the deepest wounds. Imagine a world where children no longer inherit diseases that shortened lives for centuries. Imagine families freed from silent burdens written in DNA. In this horizon, suffering is eased, longevity expands, and generations rise unbound by chains once unbreakable. This path is tender, compassionate, radiant. Another path gleams with enhancement. Here the tool is used not only to heal, but to heighten. Genes shaped for greater strength, sharper minds, longer lives. Humanity sculpted toward ideals chosen by design. There is beauty in the dream, yet caution too. For who decides what is ideal? What do we risk when difference is erased in pursuit of perfection? The horizon here glows with brilliance, but it flickers with uncertainty, like a flame dancing between creation and hubris. A third path is shadowed with inequality. If access to editing belongs to the few, the horizon divides. Some step forward into futures of health and advantage, while others remain bound to chance, to vulnerability. The species itself splits, not only by wealth or opportunity, but by biology. This horizon warns us, calling for fairness, for care, for the recognition that humanity is strongest when it belongs wholly to itself, not to fragments. And then there is a path of co-creation, glowing with partnership. Here, CRISPR is not used only upon humanity, but with the world. Ecosystems reshaped, not for control, but for balance. Coral reefs breathing again in oceans once fading. Forests designed to heal the air. Rivers renewed with life. Humanity and Earth weaving together, writing one manuscript of survival and flourishing. The horizon here feels gentle, shared, like hands holding one another beneath the sky. You breathe into these possibilities. Each carries its light, its caution, its story. The horizon is not one road, but many, stretching outward like rivers branching toward the sea. And yet, beyond the paths themselves, there is a mirror. To edit life is to hold a mirror to ourselves. CRISPR does not only reveal what we can do, it reveals what we believe. If we value compassion, we will use it to heal. If we value perfection, we may use it to sculpt. If we value justice, we will strive to share its gifts equally. If we value control, we may divide. The edits reflect not only our science, but our soul. The horizon, then, is a mirror of humanity's heart. You stand before this mirror, feeling its weight. The reflection is not distant. It is here, now, in the choices being made, in the values shaping those choices. The horizon of humanity is already forming, already shimmering into being. You walk slowly forward, and as you do, a thought arises like a tide. To shape the future is not only power, it is belonging. The choices made today ripple forward, binding generations yet unborn. The horizon is not only ours, it belongs to them. The voices not yet here, the children not yet dreamed. They will live within the edits, the changes, the stories chosen in this age. And so, as you gaze forward, you also gaze backward, listening for their echoes, hearing whispers from the future carried on the winds of now. You breathe softly, knowing this responsibility does not need to be heavy. It can be held with care, with reverence, like carrying a lantern not only for yourself, but for those who will follow. Beyond Earth, another horizon rises, for humanity does not live only beneath this sky. Already we dream of other worlds, of Mars, of moons, of distant stars. CRISPR, in its quiet precision, may allow us to adapt, to thrive in places once unreachable. You imagine descendants breathing in air once toxic, seeing clearly under skies once hostile, thriving where the human form once faltered. Life edited not for vanity, but for survival, for exploration, for expansion into the cosmic vastness. The horizon stretches not only through time, but through space, opening like galaxies upon galaxies. And yet, as infinite as this feels, there is always a gentle question returning. What does it mean to be human when humanity itself can be reshaped? Is it the genes we carry, the consciousness that glows within us, the stories we tell, the meanings we weave? Perhaps humanity is not any one definition, but a thread, a continuity of care and curiosity. Whether edited or untouched, the essence remains, to seek meaning, to ask, to dream. The spiral of DNA hums faintly at your side, endless, quiet. It carries both past and future. Within it are ancestors who walked deserts, who crossed oceans, who survived nights colder than this one. Within it are descendants not yet born, who will gaze at skies not yet seen. The horizon of humanity is not a single ending. It is an unfolding, a manuscript still turning, a song still being sung. You hold the quill gently, not as conquest, but as invitation. To write is not to finish the story. It is to guide it, to walk with it, to honor its rhythms. Humanity's horizon will not be written by science alone, nor by chance alone. It will be written by the blend of both, by choices carried in compassion, by dreams tempered in humility, by stories told across time. The night around you is vast. The stars above are countless, and yet within this expanse there is no rush. The horizon does not demand urgency. It simply invites. Step by step, breath by breath, humanity moves forward, carrying its questions, carrying its hopes, carrying its spark. You close your eyes for a moment, resting in this stillness. The horizon does not need to be solved tonight. It needs only to be seen, to be honored, to be felt. You breathe in possibility. You breathe out peace. The manuscript beside you softens its glow. The spiral turns slowly, folding into quiet. The quill of stars rests gently at your side. And you, dreamer, listener, participant in this unfolding story, drift toward rest. You belong to this horizon, just as it belongs to you. The night deepens. The stars shimmer faintly. The horizon stretches on, endless, tender, unwritten, and in this quiet, you sense the soft arrival of another thought, that beyond every horizon lies reflection, and beyond every future, a lullaby of closure. The story continues, drifting now toward the final whispers of this long journey.